Okay, thank you. Hi, this is Rachel again on Catalyst Ruth. This is part 7 of why I left, going out to MikeGipsonUSAF. So, God called me in, God called me out. What do I mean by that? So I talked about how the threads were. So there was that whiff and a knowledge that I just didn't put together the pieces up till later. But Baha'i principles that appealed to me, that were congruent with orthodoxy, were the ones that I had actually found the most attractive to me. You know, when I was first learning about the faith, and I would say that they you know, brought me to stay there. You know, that I was to stay there, but I had misconstrued that, you know, the origin. I talked about that, you know, where did these thoughts and understandings, these understandings come from? So some of them, you know, that I'm kind of talking about are, you know, like, oh, the equality of men and women. Yeah, that's present there. Now, people argue that, but they can argue all they want. I've experienced, you know, praying separately and all kinds of things that were done in Judaism that, you know, made to feel different. Not always lesser, but there are, it's cultural and it's religious and it's all a big mishmash. Being a woman in Orthodox Church, totally comfortable. Never, ever, ever have I felt that any person who happened to be a man was looking at me in any kind of way that I could possibly be lesser spiritually just because I happened to be a woman. And that was even more confirmed to me first by all the Orthodox that I met here on YouTube. So they actually talked to me like I wasn't dumb. And that was nice because a lot of times that happens. You know, people will just be very condescending or just become irritated with you for asking questions. And I am an incessant questioner. So I had that experience of just respect and kindness, just off the top of my head. And these are just the ones who I've asked a lot of questions of. Gambleor, Yusef, of course, YusefAlTahir, zragisha. I hope I don't forget somebody. Well, DavidPWithun, but I haven't asked too many questions, but I have watched his videos. I'm trying to remember. There are other Orthodox that I'm trying to. I hope I don't forget anybody, but that make videos. But there are even more that have answered questions and have been very supportive of me, even on the hush hush. So that's really nice. Other principles, besides equality of men and women, that God is loving altogether, and that there's none of this punishing business going on. Yeah. That was a nice one because that was the thing that was always so gravely distasteful to me. And yet I was surprised at how much I had still kept that in my understanding of things, even after going to church. that I would still get scared that, well, because in Judaism, you're like transgressing the law and all of this, and it's not like that at all. And, taught differently in Orthodoxy, but when 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 I remember learning it as a kid, they would explain, okay, sin is missing the mark. Okay, that means, you try again. But that in between that there's a like a formula you follow to do exactly, and that's if you know what the formula is and you can kind of manipulate it to find a loophole, then somehow you're still obeying it. And, that gets into the whole letter of the law, spirit of the law business, right? So I was surprised at how much I still thought, and even had within the last maybe 3 months had talked with someone about how I was scared that I had done something that God would find disfavor of, that I could, that he would be mad at me. Even calling God he, like in the Baha'i that says that it's indescribable. Well, that's also the description in Orthodoxy, that's indescribable, ineffable. So those tenets were the same. There's no racism, and that's a big Baha'i one. And they don't even have to say that in Orthodoxy. That's just understood. No slavery. Well, that's the same. I'm trying to think of, and it's funny to me that for all these years I studied them, and now I'm having trouble remembering them. Like, what were they? Oh, that's right, science and religion. Yeah, there's no like conflict with that one. Like, if people have the idea that Orthodox are creationists, no. Most of them believe in evolution, and like have for before it was commonly understood in science. That's kind of a weird one. Anyway, just had a different way of looking at things, I guess. Never had to worry about that they were going to tell me that I had to believe every word of the Bible. Like the whole inerrant word of God business. No. So that was a relief. I'm trying to remember more tenets. Oh, spiritual answers to economic problems. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that would conflict with that one, just because, of course, you would look for a spiritual way, because you can't separate spirituality out from anything. So I'm trying to remember if there are any more that just pop. Oh, here's one. Universal language. And I should give a shout out to Cavallero, who loves Esperanto. And whatchadiggy, the education. So yeah, that's not congruent, but it's not against it. I mean, whatever language you speak, it's of no consequence. Okay. And as far as education, yeah, I mean, it's not like in Baha'i faith where there's a law that if you only have money to educate, one of your children, if you have more than one, that it would be the woman who you would educate, because they become the mothers who you teach the children. So there's nothing specifically like that, I guess, but there's certainly nothing wrong with a woman learning anything. So there's nothing to prevent. So, and yeah, but I have been more treated equally, like I said this before, in the Orthodox Church than I was even by Baha'is. And that may seem quite odd. And I don't even know okay, I think I do know how I could describe that. Okay. Men who've grown up in America. and, you know, get those stereotypes woven through their mind, regardless of the fact that they have spiritual beliefs. They don't just fall and float away. And sometimes I think that, you know, if you leave what was the cultural Christianity that you had growing up, that you think that it's all going to go away when you know, become a new faith, like being Baha'i, but that it can, you know, I mean, there's spiritual growth with people. I'm not saying it's, you know, not, but it doesn't have to. And I experienced that doesn't have to. Not in great quantities, though. I mean, there were times when it happened more than others. There were times when it was really painfully obvious and embarrassing to the other person, because, you know, then they were realizing their fault of how they had, you know, slighted a person to think that they might be possibly lesser, you know, as a woman opposed to a man. So then the only other couple that I could think of, and this is unfortunately going to lead us to another vlog, ritual and clergy. So those are two biggie ones. And I guess that counts for a 7. So thanks again for listening. Look forward to hearing back from you. Peace.